it's been cold, and it's been dreary, and it's been wet, and traffic has been lousy, and I want to say, take a hand for yourself. Yay!
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming. You have a lot of paperwork in here, and one of the reasons is we gave you a syllabus for everything that's coming up for the year. Okay, if you complete at least more than half of these classes, then you could qualify for being the first year of your ministerial students for UCM, which is Universal Church of the Master. And this is all going to be, these classes are all going to be based on metaphysics. This year. Next year is all going to be based on healing and ministry. So it's a 2-year course if you want to. If not, you can just take classes when you want to take classes. There is not any reason you have to do it any other way. Almost, how many people in here are a UCM minister? So you see, and that's why you see Reverend in front of so many different things that are offered here, because most of the instructors have been into metaphysics and spirituality for most of their lives, and that's why they became UCM ministers. And speaking of a UCM minister, here comes one now. Okay, Dean, we need some more chairs. They can sit at the end of the tables. That'd be great.
How's that?
Yeah.
Would you like one too? I'm good.
Should we apply to
No, you can talk to me.
Right here.
Okay, she can go on the end. Right down there.
Troublemaker.
Oh, thank you.
Watch the camera.
Yeah, that thing.
Yell back.
Simon? Is that taking way too long?
I just did it.
I saw you do it, so I expect better.
I'm going by my first name.
Hey, Gina's on her way in.
She is?
Yeah. She called to see me, wanted to know if I wanted to ride with.
This is my first round.
Bringing a friend to her, so I don't know. So Jim's probably locked down.
Here's if you want to extend it,
A file?
you need a file from Dottie.
You need a file from Dottie.
If that works for you? Yeah.
And,
Okay. What's that, Dottie?
what?
I was trying to think of it.
Here you go.
This chair
And here, Cheryl, and then you give one to Carol right there. And you also get a couple of handouts here. We're doing big business.
If you need
This is
it,
the first night.
So,
So, we're gonna have one of these for you and one of these for Carol.
Sorry, it's a long trip.
Oh, we were not here when we thought we were gonna be.
I think I found it.
Yeah, here, you got a purple one and you need a golden rod? Okay, there you go. Okay. And if you three, I may have to be broken up. I can just tell.
Halo.
There goes the halo.
And I need a golden. It was her fault.
Okay, there you go.
There's too much giggling going on there.
Okay, since we have these people back here that are talking,
I'll edit it.
I'm going to have you introduce yourself. Cheryl, what are you going to be talking about here at CCL for class?
In May,
In
I'll
May.
be talking about chakras.
Yay! And April, we weren't sure whether you were going to do Samhain or Yule, but you're going to do one of the goddess.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is going to be our lady, April's going to be talking about the goddesses, and we decide which one you're going to be taking. And Julie?
Julie Hawkins, and I'm going to be giving an introduction to the Akashic Records.
To the Akashic Records, okay. And can you pull up a chair and have a seat? Get up. You guys, did you have all the traffic we did?
Well, we jumped off when the traffic started and I needed wiper blades and
You know, the place right down the street, they were very kind and put them on for us.
Yay! Okay, we need you to sign in and to get a badge over here on that table. And Regina, why don't you, who's doing that? Here we go. And you also both need a goldenrod and a purple.
Goldenrod and purple.
Goldenrod at the end of the table if you like. There you go with your files. And then she gets one too. Everybody gets one here.
I'm gonna be taking
And Smitty was worried about you. And Regina, because Smitty kept saying, Regina's coming. Regina, he was slowing down the process here. And Lori, did you want a syllabus? And this is, and Lori, what are you speaking on?
Angel card and chakras.
Okay. So some of our instructors are here. There you go.
No.
This, as you can see, is a little bit loose as far as a lot of people here know each other. If they haven't taken classes before, they've attended church here before, or they've traveled with us. So one of the things that we're going to be working on with a lot of the way our classes are set up is because we're going to take a retreat to Mount Shasta in June. And so before that, you're going to be taking classes about metaphysics, how to get in touch with spirit guides, how to do a lot of things, including a class on Lemuria, Mu, Earth elementals, and
Vortex.
also another one that
Vortex.
and telekinesis. What?
Vortex.
And vortex, yeah. We're not going into Wicca because I see vortexes. Yeah, no, I see Wicca as a religion, not a place to go necessarily. But anyway, so as I mentioned, this is a metaphysics, and that's what we're going to be teaching this year. And if there's anything that you don't know, we have a lot of instructors that are going to be teaching a lot of different things. One of the things that I really have enjoyed putting together is a glossary at the very back, because this has just about everything every word you have ever wanted to know what it means. And a lot of, I put this together through two different sources, and the third being Ma and Doti, okay? You're going to hear me use the word Ma a lot. Ma is my wonderful, wonderful spirit guide. I've been in touch with Ma since I was 5 years old. And so his real name is Mahalaleel, but that was hard to say at 5. It's kind of hard to say at my age now. One of the things that you will find, I have invited you all to my birthday party. That's not until August, but it's my 80th. So being 80, so the title of or the theme of my birthday party is Around the World in 80 Days. So that way you can dress as anything you want that's around the world in 80 days virtually, because I have a lot of people who always want to get dressed up in something exciting. In here you will read one of the things that I had written about regret, and I don't think it's in here. I think it's what you're going to get in the CCL Insights. The CCL Insights is something that we send out by email every week. And it says what's coming up. It'll be talking about what classes we're going to have. We'll be talking about the upcoming trip to Sedona. It's going to be talking about my birthday party. Shasta, thank you. I've been to Sedona 8 times and Shasta 7, so I guess I got them confused. Thank you so much.
Sure, both.
For those of you, there's a lot of you here, you might not have met each other, but the person who keeps correcting me has been correcting me for the last 35 years of my life, and that's my partner Corky. And
What's the candy little girl?
you might just throw some on the table. Okay. And yeah, we've got water and candy. I think that's a kind of a good treat this late at night, so that's what's going on. The first thing you're going to see in your folder is a list of all the classes that are to be taught for the year. It goes all the way to December 21st. And then behind that, you have a list of the classes, a description of the classes, and And then you have another piece of paper that says, in alphabetical order, the classes, who's teaching them, and the last one, it introduces you to your instructors. And so these, I'm not expecting you to read these right now, just know that that's what you have in there. And this is yours to take home with you. If you decide to start coming back to classes, we're going to give you a hardbound notebook so that you can have a notebook that you can keep with you for as long as you want. But we didn't know, this is just an introduction. That's why you don't have to pay anything tonight. Isn't that nice? This is an introduction to this class, so that's why we have it in paper. And so, for those of you who don't know anything about the Center for Creative Living, that was the first piece of paper, was introducing you to who we are and what we do. Do we have Glory here, or is she with the client? I was going to introduce her. Yeah, she's running around somewhere.
No, thanks.
Okay.
Because she is also one of our ministers. So, when you walked in this door tonight, you are going to meet people that you're inside, I really like these folks. Carol, did you find that when you first came to church, that you kind of went, I really like these folks? Carol's one of those people that's just newly been attending. Regina, we've known for a long time. Yeah, and she started coming, and so many people here. One of our newest members are Alex and Dean, and we just have so many people that are a part of what we call the CCL community. And so we do things together. We not only have church, we not only have a community meal afterwards, but we do things. And so consequently, you're not just joining a class, you're going to become a part of a community. And Gail, you've been the longest person in this community, other than Corky, and we kind of got you and you've hung on here. But isn't it a great group of people? I really think they are.
Except for her.
Except for her. Well, you know, there has to be one in every crowd to make you appreciate the others, you know.
It's usually her.
And so what I'm going to have you do is just stand up and give me your name and a little bit who you are. So Carol, you're going to start since you're the first one on over here.
I'm Carol. I'm interested in metaphysics, and I went to the Unity Church for a while, but I kind of found it dull. And I had gone to this one 6 months ago, and I couldn't remember what was the name of it, what was the address. So I've been searching for a few weeks now, and I finally found it.
Yay!
Yeah. So this is wonderful, all these classes. One person said, if you throw a rock, you're going to hit a reverend. And that seems so true. There's so many high-level people, interesting people, psychics, pet psychics, you know, all these things. And it's like, wow, this is my kind of people.
Yay!
Welcome. Thank you, Carol. Well, that's because
You're our kind of people.
Yeah. We're a spiritualist church. That's why. Yes.
Okay. I'm Cheryl Lewis. I have been coming to this church probably 10 years now, I think. I was a member of the choir. I had a room where I was doing readings here. I do chakra readings. I am also a minister. I have attended a series of courses just like this years ago, and I'm really happy that you're bringing it back. I love the sharing of the knowledge. I also go to the retreats that are made available by a few people here, and other various classes. And I will be speaking with Glory on chakras, doing that class.
Thank you.
I'm April, and I'm back. I've been very ill, and I really feel like I'm back on groove. I'm an ordained minister. I do divine feminine spirituality. I gather women, and we do the High Holy Days, which is what I'd rather speak about than any one High Holy Day. And I do goddess retreats. It's all about connecting with our divine feminine and empowering ourselves. And I also have an office here where I do vortex healing work.
What about your political activism?
Well,
I know you
so I've been an advocate for the community for a very long time.
yeah, you don't necessarily jump on a soapbox, but you.
Right.
Yes, you do.
Well,
Thank you.
you know, it's a strong part of who you are. So
It is.
she stands up for who she is and things she believes in.
I fight for the life.
That's right.
That's right. I'm Julie Hawkins still, and I've been coming here at least 10 years, maybe 12, closer to, yeah, whatever. Longer than that. I'm an ordained reverend through this organization, through UCM, and have participated in all these fabulous things. My ministry is teaching people how to read through the Akashic Records, as well as teaching women how to set and communicate appropriate and healthy boundaries.
And Huna.
And I will occasionally throw out some Huna, or throw in some Huna.
You're not thrown up.
No, as long as, yes. Anything else? I
So you teach classes here? You teach your Akashic,
Yes.
beginning?
Oh, I teach all my Akashic trainings here.
And the Gila and, the TH.
Yes, there's a new class coming that's
HT.
called Healing Through the Akashic Records. So that's very individual and centered and focused all on your own healing work. So that's coming. 3 days of that. I am done, sister.
I'm Gail Harlow. I've been a member of the community since 1982. Been on almost all the trips and a lot of the retreats, taken a lot of the courses, and we still haven't been able to levitate. That's the word we haven't done yet. That's when you know you're a graduate. But so
Or energized.
no,
mean-
levitate. And facilitator and the CCL graphic artist and
Website
Various other
support
things.
person.
yeah, I used to, yeah.
Artist extraordinaire.
I'm Kim Fields, and I've been probably taking Doti's classes since they were over at the James Lick Mansion. But just started attending the church on a regular basis probably about 2 years ago. And I'm very interested in anything metaphysical.
Thank you.
I'm Helene Marks, and I've taken a reprieve from attending church services for about 1.5 years, proudly. And what I'm doing is just looking into developing whatever my healing gift is. So as far as I can clarify, but I'm not ready to step into the world yet because there's pieces that are missing, is I've noticed that the power that comes through me is both in hands-on healing, clairvoyant, prayer, and it's like I'm developing this language within me that's coming from wherever, and I haven't quite put the pieces to that together yet. And I'm happy to hear. I really didn't know what to expect, but it looks a lot like ministerial school, and I'm an ordained minister from this organization.
Thank you.
I'm Sharon. I got dropped off tonight on the other side, so I sat in the dark for a while and went, what's going on? And thankfully somebody came by here and brought me around. So I've been trying to find my way to all you folks. I had one more stumbling block, but no.
You're in here now.
I'm really interested in all of this. The Akashic Records, though, that's something that I'm really interested in. And I've been trying to find a group of people with these gifts, and I wanted to try to find a church, but a non-denominational church. And somehow this came up on Facebook the other day, and my daughter, I live with both my daughters, and I just went, oh my gosh, look, and here I am. So,
Yay!
really glad to
Thank you.
My name is Christina Curris. I come and attend church, and I'm interested in taking classes. Here I am. And I'm Glory. I like to say Reverend Glory because I like the way it sounds. I've been attending here since I landed in California. I came here to visit on Mother's Day, and then I came back and visited this place when I returned in July. And then when I moved here in September of 2014, I came back here, and I'm still here. So this seems to be my place. And I'm staying because there are so many things to learn. I'm getting a fuller introduction into the metaphysical realities. I come from a strict kind of Christianity kind of a thing, and so embracing the metaphysical concepts and recognizing that all the gifts that I was working with there are here. They just have a different name, okay? And there's a different kind of jargon that comes with it. There's also, I'm discovering a different kind of power and just so many other things to learn. And so I'm truly, truly inspired by us offering these classes and having the opportunity to share with others and to kind of like, you know, they say if you can't run with the big dogs, stay on the porch. I feel like I'm with the big dogs right here. Oh, and I'm going to be teaching about the angel cards. I chose the angel cards because the graphics on the angel cards were a lot more subtle, okay, and I'm kind of sensitive. I don't like pictures of devils and people falling out of towers and stuff like this. Of course, now I understand the archetypes, but I just wanted a more loving, kind, gentle way of doing it. And then also I will be teaching on what is becoming one of my specialties with dealing with chakra balancing and healing. And I'll be co-teaching with Cheryl on that. And I'm really excited because when I get a chance to teach, it also means that I got to stock up on my learning. So I can't give you what I don't got. And so I'm really excited about that. So I hope to be seeing you.
Oh, Dottie, Dean, who's going to stand?
I'm
just trying to go ahead, Dean.
He's Simon tonight.
No, yeah. It's okay. I'm Simon. I've been going by my middle name for a while. I'm trying out my first name, see how it goes.
Okay.
I've been coming here for a little over a year. I do a lot of the online stuff with Corky, the Facebook events and the updates and the daily posts and things like that. And I read tarot cards and I pagan, and other than that, there's not much that's that interesting. I'm not like a minister or anything, so.
Oh, wait till we have you a while.
Yeah. You're still young. Yeah. Look at my another year.
I'm Alexandra. I've been coming to the church for a couple months, and I'm just interested in the classes.
My name is Courtney. I'm in 6th grade, and I was baptized here.
Yes, you were.
Yeah, she's the only true member of the church.
No, we've got another one. His name's Jojo.
That hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, he's not part of the church, but he was baptized here. But you've been the one that's been hanging in there. Thank you so much.
Glad you're here, Courtney.
Thank you.
And she may take the classes.
Awesome. Hey, that's great.
Okay. I'm the other Dottie. I am a minister here, so I am Reverend Dottie II, mother of Courtney. Been here a long time, but you don't see me as much because I am busy doing other things. And for my New Year's resolution, I decided I was going to take more metaphysical classes, so that's why I'm here. And my current
You're the one that did this, huh?
Pardon me?
It's because of you that we're doing this.
Oh, yeah. And my current ministry is working as a nurse at Packard Children's Hospital.
Alicia, your turn. We're all looking at you.
My name is Alma Alicia, but I'm going by Alicia. So it will be hard for you to say it. I'm first time here, and this is my neighbor, and she's the one that brought me.
Yay!
Thank you.
And I think it's very interesting the topics that she that I was reading, and I'm interested in numerology because I see numbers in things, and it's been happening for years, and I believe it means something to that I should study it and understand it.
Great.
My name is Regina, and I had all this time to figure out how long I've been hanging out with you, Dottie. The year 2000. So I started attending Dottie's classes, and then I drugged my daughter, and she attended Dottie's classes, and I graduated and have become a minister, and I do healing work and haircuts, and I drugged my neighbor here because she said, "Oh, that sounds like fun." I said, "Good, let's go."
That's the way to do it. That's the way I do it all the time.
Yeah.
And Regina's going to be with the group next year. She is a Reiki master, and she has taught a lot of Reiki classes. So when we get into the healing part, there you are. Okay, Christine.
I'm Christine. I've been taking these classes on and off since when you were over at Warfork.
Wow.
And then James Lick. And I'm interested in metaphysical. That's about it.
Yeah, good, good.
She had been taking these classes since they were in her home.
Okay, Kathleen.
Hi, I'm Kathleen. I'm interested in metaphysics, so I'm here. I'm interested in healing work, and I'm a certified massage therapist, and there's an office here that I can share with someone and still do some work here. Will be getting back into it, still kind of working on healing up an ankle that had fractured, but it's much better.
Thank you. Yeah.
And I'm kind of interested in getting into spiritual counseling. Maybe I had no reason to ever think I would be a minister. It's like, oh yeah, there's ministers all around. That's not me. That's not it. And then kind of lately, we kind of think, oh, maybe there'd be something there.
Yeah.
I can develop. So anyway,
Great, great.
My name's Keith Smith. I got ordained in '78 while I was president of the board of directors at Unity Church in Palo Alto. I got ordained here. I've been interested in metaphysics most of my life. I had a near-death experience at age of 14 when I was kicked in the stomach by a horse, dead for a half an hour. Went on the other side and talked with the being of light. Tried to tell the doctor. He shoved a shot in my arm, and when I woke up, I couldn't remember anything except getting kicked, flying through the air, and hitting the ground. Doc was a master hypnotist. He programmed me not to be able to recall the memories until it was safe to do so. I started getting the memories back in '73. And since then, I've been on a fast track. And let's see, first time I came to your tour was about 2001 over at the Lick Mansion, wasn't it? Yeah. As a matter of fact, you brought me. And, well, she's been my barber since what? About 2000. Yeah. Anyway, I'm vice president of the local Dowsers Club, and I'll be teaching dowsing here in September. I teach Huna. I have set up a class in my own home on Huna starting in February, and one on dowsing starting in March. I only have room for 6 people, and both classes are full.
Okay.
Awesome.
And I'm going to be attending these because I'm a Leo. I'm interested in everything.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay.
My turn. Okay.
Your
So
turn.
I'm Reverend Corky Whitaker, and my partner here, and I'm a hypnotherapist, and I developed a process called EBER, Earthbound Entity Releasement Technique, and so I'll be teaching that on one of the Saturdays, and then also I'm going to be teaching self-hypnosis for spiritual awareness. So I'm very excited to be able to do that because hypnosis is just awesome stuff. The coolest thing about hypnosis is that anything you want to start or anything you want to stop, you can do it by reprogramming your subconscious mind, and you use hypnosis to do that. So when I went to hypnosis school, the Palo Alto School of Hypnotherapy, I was like, this is so exciting, man. Everybody's going to be, if everybody knew hypnosis, they'd be healed. Oh my God, this is wonderful. And then I started working with people. Like they don't wanna. People who wanted to get healed,
Get healed.
Get healed. And people who don't want to talk about not being healed. So it's interesting. You know, it's been an interesting process. I became a hypnotherapist in the early 80s, and I've trained with all around the world with different hypnotherapists, and it's really cool. So anyway, so I'm going to be teaching you guys hypnosis.
Good.
Good.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Mel, Reverend Mel.
I guess.
You are?
I'm Reverend Mel Betancourt, and I work, I guess, you call it my ministry, right?
Yes.
I work
Yes,
as a
yes,
nurse
yes, yes.
in San Francisco at San Francisco General Hospital, in a substance abuse clinic. People addicted to heroin, giving them methadone to help them get off of it. We provide counseling and a bunch of different things. The other thing is I collect socks for my homeless clients. That's, I guess, part of my ministry too.
It is.
Call it Suck It To Me. And a lot of you already know about it and have donated, but for homeless people with wet feet. And I guess that's about it.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Well, and my name's Doti Boon, and I sometimes I forget during church. I introduce everybody, and then I had this gentleman one day said, and who are you? I'm the pastor, and it made me realize just because I know who I am doesn't mean the other. So when I talk about metaphysics, this is something that is, many people, they hear about it, but they don't know what it is because they can't see it, and they don't feel it, and they think that there's something wrong with them, because as they're coming through life, things happen to them, and they tell a friend or they talk to somebody and they have no idea what they're talking about, and they look at them like they're crazy. You know, and so how many of you have ever had that experience?
Oh, people looking at you like you're crazy?
Yeah, like you're doing something. Yeah, you should all should, because when you are into it, and when you become what we call a metaphysician, when you start realizing that you can either see, hear, feel, or know things that other people don't, quite often it makes you feel like there's something wrong with me. And then you start looking to find somebody else, another group of people that are like you. And when you do, it's like, wow, they're crazier than I am. So you feel like, that's interesting. These people are pretty neat. But metaphysics, it attempts to tell us who we are. That's the basic thing of learning exactly who we are. And in that learning who we are, we start doing different things. Some of us feel this energy around you. How many of you felt that 2017 was pretty dense, even though you don't even have to be in politics to feel it was pretty dense? And you don't know why, but it's almost like there's a pressure out there.
Yep.
Okay, and so that means you're clairsentient. You feel things. And sometimes I was at my house, and I was working along, and I felt somebody walk in and I said, Corky? She wasn't even in the proximity. And I realized it was my spirit guide just kind of wandered through. And I looked down to see what in the world was he thinking. And I was holding a notebook like this, a file folder, and it said, Spirit Guides on it. I went, oh, and he said, you rang? No, I'm busy writing this thing. And he goes, oh, and he laughed, you know. But if I had been aware of who that was, that could drive you crazy. And it's the same way when you look at something. I used to live in Santa Clara, and we had beings in the backyard a lot of the time. And you look out, and they were ETs. They were beings. Well, whatever they were, didn't bother me at all. But when people came and stayed for a while, it drove them crazy. You know, you've got things in your backyard. I said, yeah, and we call them ETs, for want of a better word. But that whole energy of feeling, seeing, being, whatever. I'm wiggling around here because I can't see Cheryl. There you are. Yeah, thank you. And so that knowing that this has to be okay, but being told by other people that it's not. I mean, that's very, very difficult. So what we're going to do is give you some tools. If somebody says, well, you can't do that, you say, well, yes, I can. I took Dottie's class. Or yes, I can. Because you're going to find out these many, many different things. Like when Julie talks about Akashic records. If you don't know what they are, you're going to find out that people are talking about this all around the world. It's going to open up a new area for you to be interested in and work with for yourself. And it's the same with chakras. It's the same with when Smitty does dowsing. People say, well, what are you doing? He can feel Earth's energy through, whether it's a dowsing rod or even through a pendulum. Pendulums are remarkable that you can feel energy. All of these things are so amazing. And, when you read cards, the cards are pieces of cardboard. They don't tell you anything. You feel the energy that they're bringing, and you are the ones that are in charge. And to know that you're in charge, it gives you a lot of feeling of power. And so that's what many of these classes are. But what I want you to do is before you get into this field at all, you all have a lavender piece of paper. I want you to pick it up and look at this is what you need to do, and you start out with grounding. Right in the middle, you'll see grounding. Okay, and just find out ways to ground yourself. This is so important, is to ground yourself. And one of the best ways to ground yourself is to just visualize a cord that comes from your body and just goes all the way down to the center of the earth. And that cord, as it goes down through the center of the earth, it will wrap itself around a crystal or a big stone or a tree, whatever you want to see there. What did I do, Julie? You're giggling over there. I made a mistake somewhere. What did it say?
At the very bottom, I think it's supposed to say, sit comfortably with your two palms facing one another, but it says your two pals.
If you have those, that's fine too.
Julie,
It's a good thing it was a mild one.
they deliberately put typos in here to give the nitpickers something to do.
I did that. I typed that recorded 6 tonight.
Well, you have permission to be as typographically error as you like.
But when you think
Thank you, we'll
of
correct it.
that getting yourself grounded, and also when we're talking about making sure that you're cleared, and you'll also see that the balancing and the protection. Now, all of those are probably the most important thing to do. And many people do it in different ways, and many people say it in different ways. And Regina, you're really good at that, being able to know where you're going to ground and protect and balance and clear. Because you do this every day, don't you?
I do. It's a daily practice to learn how to ground and protect yourself. And it's really interesting when you share teeny pieces of information with people who are struggling in their world, going, well, if you just move your breath through your body and out your feet and kind of ground and then imagine this beautiful bubble around you, they won't bother you so much. And they find out that it's so true, and it was just something really quick. But the process is in here, and that you're going to be learning about grounding and putting your energy into the earth. It feels lovely. Absolutely lovely. It brings you back into your body. And we've all heard that terminology about an airhead. You're not grounded.
You're not grounded. And you'll know. Have you ever had mornings where you get up and you wandering through the house, you're getting ready to leave for work, you go, oh, I didn't take my pills, or whatever you're doing the first thing in the morning, you get a cup of coffee, you walk back into the house, you did get that, you start to go out of the house again, and you say, oh, where's my keys?
Where's my keys?
Locked behind that
door where you left them.
And you're going, what is all this? And it's just, you're not grounded. And quite often, I have people say, well, that happens to me every morning. And I say, well, what happened during the night? Oh, well, I have these weird dreams.
They didn't get all the way back in their body.
Yeah, exactly. Or they did some astral. We're going to be talking about astral travel. And at night, when you're sleeping, quite often you leave your body. And when you leave your body, you can go anywhere. So sometimes you might be, you're at work during the day and you think, I really want to go to Paris. I think I've been there. I know I haven't. And you have a recall. And you think, why do I remember Paris? Well, you went there the night before. You can astral anywhere anywhere. I was gonna say on the planet, but I've sometimes gone beyond. Anywhere. And so what's so nice about that is then you say, oh, I have this power to do just about anything. But if you don't know you're doing it, you feel possessed, you feel discombobulated, what's the word? Discombobulated, that's it, April. You feel like you're just
Bob that boob.
But that grounding, that's why I wanted to have you have that, okay? The other piece of paper that I gave you is a goldenrod. I was saying it was yellow, and some wonderful person said, no, that's goldenrod.
That's goldenrod.
And these are just basics. I want to know, how do you know you're different? And if you haven't felt you were different, wait until you start talking to some of your friends about these classes. They're going to say, you did. What? When did you think of, when did you ever decide you weren't going to, there wasn't a heaven or there wasn't a hell? Did you? Or do you still have that feeling of density of when I die, I'm gonna go to hell? You know, that type of thing. We here at UCM and CCL, we believe that we are eternal. And you can't be too eternal if you're gonna go one place or the other and slam the door shut. So we, as spiritualists, feel that our energy is spirit and it's around all the time.
You say that if you have a past life.
Yeah,
Well,
you do past
what's going
lives.
to come back if it's not you?
So those are just some questions for you to ask yourself, to look at them and go, oh, when did I do that? When did I do this? Anybody in here remember when they first had a feeling that they were different? What was that? Smitty, when you came back from your...
Nope.
What?
When I was 6.
What happened?
I'm not really sure, but I was playing with some other kids, and I looked at one of my friends, and I knew he wasn't going to be there the next day. He was going to die.
Wow.
And he got killed by a car wreck the following day.
Now, did that bother you?
Yeah, sure as hell did.
Yeah.
It bothered me a great deal until Dad said, well, some people seem to be able to sense certain things. And about a month after that, I was standing out behind the barn at my grandparents' place, and I was straining. Dad come around, he said, what are you doing? And I said, I can't lift. I used to be able to lift, and I can't lift anymore. And he said, well, it seems to be that we can't do that here. And he went on. And he said, it's just one of those things that we can't do that here. Maybe you'll do it later. Dad was an empath. And when I was having nightmares and being chased by big beasts, I really didn't have a problem with it. Dad took me out, put a .45 revolver in my hand, and we blew the top off of a fence post. I picked myself up off the ground, and I didn't know that he had an old revolver that didn't have a firing pin in it, but he told me to put that under the pillow. And every time one of those beasts started chasing me, I was to pull that gun out and shoot it. Well, of course, the gun under the pillow wasn't loaded, but it sure was in those dreams, and I sure had a lot of fun slaughtering dragons and tigers and lions and snakes and alligators. I went hunting them. And that's when I knew I was different, because when Terry died, and I tried to tell the other kids about it, I told them the day before.
Yeah.
I said, Terry, be careful. And he says, why? And I said, because there's going to be something bad happen. Oh, yeah, sure, Yeah, there was.
Wow.
Yeah. He was the only one killed in the car.
Oh my gosh, yeah, yeah. And finding out that that's who you were, and that's what you can do.
Yeah.
Is very,
And what a perfect dad to have.
Yeah, I couldn't stand him. You know, when I was 14, that was the stupidest man I ever saw in my life. And when I was 18, I couldn't understand how the devil he learned so much in 4 years.
So
That's right.
you know, with metaphysics, there's an area of metaphysics that has to do with our experiences with unity, with love, with God. That's part of the metaphysics, but there's also the other part of metaphysics, which is learning that you're an empath, learning who you are and how powerful you are. And there are so many parts of that second group that I'll call occult, for want of a better word. It's finding out the different things of, if you've ever, have any of you ever seen ghosts?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of those things you go, well, that's unusual. Why hasn't everybody in the room seen ghosts? Well, quite often they do, but it doesn't register that they're seeing something different. Quite often they just go, oh, that's weird. My greatest line is, oh, that's interesting. You know, somebody will tell me something happened to them that I've never heard of before in my life, and I just go, that's interesting. And as we take these classes, we're going to be sharing stories of what's interesting and what in the heck is going on here. Before quite a few of you came in, we were going through the syllabus. As I said, this is a free introductory class, meaning you're here and you have a lot of information. We started out with a letter that says what the Center for Living is. And for any of you who are interested, this is going to tell you who we are and what we do. And then we went on, and we have the Academy of Esoteric and Spiritualist Studies. And that is a new group that we came up with that Corky likes the name Academy and Esoteric, so we put them together.
If I ever had a school, that's what I'm going to call it.
Yeah.
The Academy of Esoteric Studies.
And I threw in Spiritualistic Studies. And this one page gives you the dates, so you can put this on your refrigerator, you can put it any place, put it anywhere you want, because it breaks down every Thursday and what we're going to be doing on that Thursday. And so that way, it just kind of is there, and kind of you can go, oh, yeah, that's where they are. And then when you get interested in something, you can say, oh, auras. I want to know more about auras, and you have a wonderful little table of contents here that shows you what page that's on. Corky was up until 4 o'clock this morning working on this.
So you have them in alphabetical order by subject with the page number. You have it in order by date, and then you have it, and then you have the speakers in their alphabetical order and what they're going to be speaking on a date and who they are.
You are awesome.
Thank you.
In the middle of the night, until the middle of the night, yeah. And and when you look at these, and you go, well, I don't know anything about Akashic record. I've so far pronounced it 3 different ways. That's just because I'm showing off. I don't know which it really is.
I say Akashic.
Akashic, okay. And so you can start looking at that. One of the people I'm really excited about speaking is Reverend Corey Gott. On how using crystals and stones, and that's something that she has talked about before at UCM, but I haven't heard her speak, and I think that's going to be a really interesting one. Getting in touch with spirit guides is going to be in our next class, and I have a lot of stories about that. Because when you're working with somebody like Ma, who you have no idea where he's going to take you or what he's going to do. So you want to think about, oh, if you have a spirit guide story, I want you to bring it so we can talk about it. As I was going through all of these things and gathering bits and pieces about every subject, I ran across one that was called, a piece of paper that was called Murder or Suicide. And it was so interesting, I wanted to share it with you tonight, because I had a woman and her daughter come visit me a couple of years ago. And I had written this up to share with a magazine article I was doing. And they walked in to tell me that their son and brother had been shot. Or really not shot. The police were upset by all this. He had been hanged. He had a tie around his neck, and he had been strangled. And they were saying that he had committed suicide. And as they're telling me the story, he appeared in the room, and he's sitting there. And they said, "Is he here now?" And I said, "Yes, he is." And I said, "Okay, Jacob is right here." And I said, "Are you interested?" And he said to me, "Here, where you all hear the voice." He said to me, "Here, I wasn't strangled. The SOB murdered me." I said, Jacob is mentioning an SOB, do you know who that is? And they both said, yeah, that's Marcos. That's what he used to refer to him as. And I said, well, who was Marcos? And they said, his drug dealer. Now this is getting very interesting. To be not, you know, I'm probably more interested in the story than the fact that the dead guy's sitting here. But, you know, and so he was telling the story that what they did is they came in. He didn't have the money that they wanted, and he beat him up a little bit, and then he took his belt because two guys were holding him. He took his belt off, put it around his neck, pulled it tight, put a knee in his back, and he strangled him. And then, when he was dead, they put a tie around his neck and hung him from the door handle. Well, the door handle bit kind of bothered the police, but they couldn't figure out what had happened. And since he had a mark around here that showed a ligature mark, they said, okay, he had committed suicide. So Jacob said, would you please have them measure the mark against the mark on my body? I said, that means we have to exhume you. And he said, yeah. Don't you love somebody telling me to get him out of the grave? And I said, so I told these two, and they said, I don't think the police will do that. He's been gone for 2 months. I said, well, tell them that somebody told you that they should. And I said, I don't think you should use the word psychic because I don't know what the police are going to do, but it'd be nice if, you know. And so they said, okay. So I got a call, and it was 2 weeks later, I got a call, and they said, yeah. They they got the body up, and they measured, and sure enough. And they found Marcos, and by then, he had done something else bad, and he was in jail. And they got him, and not only was he in custody in jail, but then they took him to trial, and he was found guilty. And he's now still in prison. And she said, thank you so much for, you know, telling us what really happened. Okay, though, that was really good. And I came in the next day and there was Jacob. And I said, you can't hang out here. And he said, why not? And I said, you've got to go on and be in spirit. And this is the first time I've ever heard it. He said, it's boring in spirit. And I said, well, Jacob, it's not, you're going to have to find something interesting there, you know. And he said, okay. And I walked out and I said, I've got to get some more life in this house, you know, in this office. And I put a fountain in the lobby. And that's why the fountain's running, is to keep the spirits from, running water keeps the spirits from migrating into your space. So if you have anything like this, just put a fountain in, it really helps. But when I found that piece of paper in that story, I just went, oh yeah. And that's what happens when you're channeling. You're going to have all these wonderful things to say, and afterwards people come back and say, well, what about this? And I don't remember what I said. I have no idea what I said. Don't you think that's being something that saves you as a reader? Wouldn't it be awful if we carried everybody's story in our head? No, so when you say channel, you just channel it and it goes through you. And sometimes if it's really interesting, I might mention to somebody, I had a client, I don't tell them their name or where they live or anything else, I had a client that this happened to them. And they go, that is really interesting. Because as you get more into your spiritual abilities, you're going to find more and more interesting people are going to find you. Because they're looking for answers. And it might not be they want to know if Marcos killed Jacob or not. That's just one of those unusual ones. It could be just about anything that they're interested in when you're doing with chakras or when you're dealing with what you're looking at. So as we go through these classes, we're going to be talking about how you can use your abilities to access information. Automatic writing. That is one of those that to me is incredible. I've had automatic writing classes where people have gotten messages from all sorts of beings and then use that information that they get. People in spirit really want to help us, but quite often we don't hear them or see them or feel them. And so what you're going to do is, all of these tools are you to find out metaphysically how much power you really have. Each one of you is gifted. It's finding out what is the gift that works for you. So as you think about that, sometimes, how many of you are artistic? How many of you draw? Yeah. And do you ever draw something and you didn't even know what it was, and then you're just surprised at what it is?
Oh, all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And you go, where'd that come from? Well, you're channeling. Who knows? You might be channeling Michelangelo. We don't know, but you're channeling.
Probably not.
And those of you who write songs and write poetry, where you sit down to write a poem about a tree and you end up writing one about an eagle. You know, it's like, where did that come from? Well, Spirit is coming through you, and work with that. And the more you find that you can work with it, the more you find that your life becomes fuller and more expansive. To me, the saddest thing that anybody could ever say in life is, I'm bored. And I look at them.
I'm never bored.
I know. How can you be bored? There is so many wonderful things going on. There's so much excitement. If nothing else, talk to your spirit guide.
I love this planet. It's so wonderful.
And when we do past lives, many people have a feeling like they will have a dream or they'll have a sense that, for mine, every once in a while I have this thing where I had very long hair. Well, I haven't had any hair for years. And I can remember the feeling of swinging my head and having my hair flow by my face.
That was your wig.
I used to wear wigs. I wore wigs for 20 years. As my wig flew by. No. And I'm sure many of you might have had a feeling that I've been here before.
Oh, yeah.
And quite often that's a past life. You might have had a feeling of, I know what it's like. Have any of you ever felt like you knew what it was like to be the other gender?
Yep.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting? You go, oh, I know what it feels like to be a man. I wonder what lifetime that was. Okay, so you feel these things that from past lives, or to be empowered, or to be when I was 5 years old, I knew I was going to be a great singer. I could sing opera at 5, sitting in my swinging and singing. It wasn't until I was about, maybe 7, I found out that I was completely tone deaf. And what I was singing probably is what got, chased the chickens. I don't know, because I was living on a ranch. And, but I can remember it. Not just singing, but being on stage and singing. And so for some reason I came back into this lifetime without that ability, but the memory. Have you ever realized that? Whether you can do it or not, if you think you can or you remember doing it in a past life, you get that thrill, that chill of, I've done that before. Anybody here know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember being all kinds of animals.
All kinds of animals. Oh, how great. Little animals and big animals?
Most of the big
Yeah. I can remember being a lion.
Huh?
Tiger?
Wolves and dogs.
No, what?
Wolves and dogs.
Wolves and dogs. Yeah. Anybody else that remember being something in a past life that they could share? Yeah, April.
I was a part of the Revolutionary War. I can see myself standing in a fireplace with several other men, conjuring up what was going to happen. I was a peon of the group, but I can see it as clear as day in my mind's eye.
Wow, great.
Still a political activist.
I know.
That sounds just like you.
Over and over again.
Yeah, I was burned at the stake, and I can remember it. I can remember that because I can remember looking in the eyes of the people that were really excited about burning me. You know, it wasn't me. It was that they were. It was like a pyromaniac plus 2. You know, there was this glow there, that glee of watching someone be burned. And those are the ones that you don't want to remember. I like the one that remembered me as an opera singer. You know, so you can do that. You can actually have a past life come up and say, I don't think I want to do this one. Remember how powerful you are. That's the one thing I want you to learn in all these classes, is each one of you is so powerful. You're the most powerful person in your life there is. Okay? And yes?
So I can add to that. So because I've had multiple lifetimes of doing, fighting for right and martyrdom, I'm now choosing that that's not a play I'm playing anymore. And that's where the power comes. It's like that I've done that. I'm clear on how that was. I'm not going to do it anymore, and I'm going to choose a different script.
Isn't that great? And you can choose your script. So we're going to be talking a lot about that. Yes. Julie.
I was gonna say, when I was a kid, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 or whatever, I used to play dress up. Only I would take my wraps and make everything around me, and I would dress up as a nun. Only I was born Jewish.
So obviously being a nun didn't work for you.
I was really compelled to do that a lot. I did it for a long time, and I didn't ever understand why until later I realized, oh, this is a past life memory
Right.
and I'm acting out.
Right.
So,
I used to dream of being in a German village outside of a little town that was called Grunstadt. And I could read, write, and speak German. And that fascinated me because I'm born in western Kansas. And I didn't have any books to learn German or anything. But in my dreams, I could read the language, and I could write it, and I could speak it. In 1955, I went in the Air Force. I was transferred. I went through tech school. I wound up being transferred to Germany, and I'm on a bus going to Grunstadt.
Wow.
And all of a sudden, I didn't have any trouble at all learning the language.
Wow.
It was all there.
I'm from Kansas. I'm from Kansas. We're in Kansas between.
I'm sorry?
I'm from Kansas.
Greeley County, western end of the state.
Yeah. Okay. I'm from Kansas City, but.
Yeah, the other end of the state.
I have another one. I have a Jewish friend, and years ago, she started inviting me to gatherings they would have, and when they'd sing the prayers, all of a sudden, I could sing the prayers. And I had no idea why until I found out I had been a rabbi in another lifetime. So whenever the prayers begin, I can sing right along with them. I don't know what they're saying. I don't know, but
The words are there.
yeah, they're just there.
And they're hard words, too.
They are.
Yeah, and all kinds of stuff.
I mean, it's interesting to know about what you've been in the past and how it kind of oozes into this lifetime. Sometimes it oozes in a negative way, and that's why it's really helpful to understand there can be something other than the here and now that it can explain what you're experiencing.
Right.
Which is what I've just gone through, and having to really clear out some past lives that were really interfering with my wellness. And so there's some profound learning. This isn't just to understand, just to understand. This can be almost life and death for some people, to have this knowledge and understanding.
Yeah, but that is, how do you harness this power?
Right.
You know, exactly what you're saying. Because you have all these abilities, but how do you harness them? And once you harness it, that's when you realize, I'm not just somebody that was dropped into Santa Clara County. I am the sum of all of these different parts. And why am I doing what I'm doing? And sometimes, somebody said to me, well, I'm an old soul. And I said, well, you know, souls don't have age. They have experiences. And when someone says you're an old soul, they probably say you've lived a lot of lives. And from those, you get experiences. And I bet everybody in here, you will not be interested in metaphysics if you haven't had some experiences.
Yeah.
If you haven't had hardly any experiences, you're probably going to be in a very good religion that says this is how you're supposed to be, this is what you're supposed to do, and you're not supposed to think for yourself. And we've got some really great religions like that, you know. And when you start saying, like as I said to the nun, what do you mean Christ died hanging on the cross? I could hang on anything for years, it seems like. I could hang on the monkey bars, so I knew I could hang anywhere for, you know, anything longer than 3 days. And she said, well, they put a sword in his side. And I said, that's where that sword went is not going to kill you. It wasn't that deep. So I'm really, you know, I'm 12 years old and this nun is getting very frustrated with me, you know. And it wasn't until I took a class in physiology and I found out that what they were doing was testing.
Suffocating him.
Yeah, they were suffocating. He was suffocating in his own bodily fluids, and that was to see if it ran clear. He was just about dead because there wasn't even any blood. Which is so horrible when you think of testing a turkey to see if it's done, and that's what they were doing to Christ on the cross. I mean, I was horrified by this. Of course, that nun was 25 years ago, but I realized that questioning is part of my getting in touch with my past lives, my getting in touch with all these other things, that I started to see that for me, what I felt was a true religion was love. That I felt that was the religion, because I wasn't interested in one particular faith. But since then, I've learned so much from people who talk to me, who are Islamic people, who talk to me, who are Buddhist people, who talk to me, who are from all sorts of different religions, and I go, wow, I like that. I'm so glad I heard about that, because every one of them has something great, and something that is so powerful and so good. And so one of the things we'll talk about in the metaphysics is that part of that meta energy, and that wisdom of faith. And I had a gentleman walk into church one Sunday, and he said, well, you know, I'm an atheist. And I said, oh, good, we don't have one of those. And he said, what? Said, no,
He's a go fish.
Nobody has declared atheism. You know, we have many other things. And he said, oh, so a few weeks later, he said, I think I'm an agnostic. And I said, oh, good. I don't care what title you have. You are a child of God because you're here and you're breathing. And you are a child of God that came in with gifts, and everybody came in with a gift. And as you go through these classes, you're going to find what your gift is, what you absolutely are attracted to. And there are people who channel, as I said, my friend Gail here, who is such a great artist, and she channels through artwork. And Cheryl channels through music. And I mean, there's these wonderful, wonderful gifts that, and the healers in this group are magnificent. I know with Glory, if she puts her hands on somebody's body with massage, she can feel their energy. Regina can do that too with Reiki. You know, you can feel their energy and know where to go to help them. Well, that's also, that being intuitive as a healer is incredible. But let's first find out what other gifts you have, so that you can utilize them in every day in what you're doing. I love the automatic handwriting because pretty soon you start looking at what you're writing and think, is this me or is this somebody else? I don't know how many of you ever started to write a letter and all of a sudden you realize that doesn't look like my handwriting. What happened to it? We are pulling in somebody else's energy, so we're gonna do that. Okay. The other thing is finding out about a past life. Is sometimes I'm gonna have you look into a mirror and see who you were, which is kind of interesting and a little bit spooky. But there's many different things. Now, when you become interested in metaphysics, you're going to find more and more. You can start seeing auric energy. You'll see people either glowing or not glowing, shiny or dense, or dull or dark. And you're not looking at them, you're looking around them, and this energy is glowing. And by that, you can tell, and you don't have to have anybody tell you what they mean. If you see somebody with a black aura, you know that you can just kind of turn around and walk away. You don't have to have anything to do with them. And I really mean brown. Black isn't that bad, but there's an ugly brown that's lousy if you ever see it.
Yeah, I thought black was like someone's recovering from.
Yeah, that's because they don't have any energy at all. They don't have any energy, and it's black. But there's a brown that's really nasty. But the more you get into doing that, you're finding out I know things. Okay. The other thing is find out what you believe in. That ability to know who you are. So many people I say, oh, who are you? What do you do? Oh, I don't do anything I like. Why not? Well, because, and there's always, but think about it. If you know who you are and what you like, you should be doing it. Find a way to do it, even if it's a little bit each day. Okay? I am the absolute world champion at bouncing a tennis ball on a piece of wood about that size. Because one summer, that's all I did. I had this tennis ball and a piece of wood, and I walked around bouncing it. I got up to, I could do 1,400 bounces of that little ball. I decided I was absolutely the world champion. It didn't make any difference that nobody else wanted to do that. I was the champion. Well, when those paddles with the little balls came out, oh, I was good at that. You know, I've been doing 1,500 of them.
And it even came with a string to bring the ball back.
I know. Back by gravity. And I found that you find the thing that you're good at. And I don't care what it is, but you do it. And let people know, I'm probably one of the best at doing this. And each one of you has a gift. But find that gift. Find out what that gift is. And you might say, well, that's silly. I wouldn't want to bounce a ball. No, you wouldn't. But for me, living in the desert as a young girl, that was about the only tools I had to try something. You know, I knew I wasn't a good horseback rider because my horse kept throwing me off. And that didn't take long for me to find out I wasn't a good horseback rider. I say that, and I'm teasing, because I get on my horse without a saddle because I didn't have the strength to get the saddle on the horse. And so I put a blanket on, and we get out in the middle of the desert, and he would just start shivering. If any of you have ever been horseback riding, I don't know how they do it, but they just start at the shoulder, and they just shiver you.
They shudder, yeah.
Right off
and off I'd go. And I'd be standing there, and it would sticker. And walk away. And he'd walk away just fast enough that I couldn't catch him, you know. I couldn't get the reins. And we walked that way all the way back to the house. And it was like, so that wasn't going to be it. So bouncing a ball.
So that horse took you for a ride.
And then a walk.
Yeah. So take a moment, and when you get a chance, just look into the mirror and see what you see. And it's not about what does your hair look like, it's not about what color eyes you have, it's just see if you can see any energy around you. And start harnessing that energy, whatever the energy is, find a way to harness it. Because you know best who you are. A lot of people are going into life coaching, either doing it or taking it or being it. And I say, why? And they say, well, I want to find out who I am. And I think, or I want to find out what I can do. I said, well, try everything. You know, if you try enough things, you're going to come up with the same thing you do best. You
might find something very astonishing. You might find you're quite good at several things.
Right. But if you don't try it, how are you going to know?
That's right.
You know, and how many of you have had more than 5 jobs in life? Yeah. And didn't you then go, this isn't it? Or somebody else told you this isn't it? Have you ever had somebody tell you this isn't it? You're not good at this? And then you have to find something else. But when you look back, don't you see it's kind of a trajectory of putting you in the place you're supposed to be? Because you find who you are. And that's getting into that metaphysics of you knowing who you are and where you need to be and what you need to do. Yes.
So I was wondering if, before we go, that we could talk about how to surround yourself with white light. You know, and so when people look in the mirror, they will have that protection.
Always. Okay, thank you so much, Courtney. Protection, when I was talking about protecting yourself. For me, you may do it differently. I surround myself with white light. When I get up in the morning, the first thing I do is visualize white light around me. So I don't, stumble and fall in the bathtub or something like that, because I'm a klutz. So I put white light around me. And when I get ready, I get dressed, I go outside, and before I get in the car, I white light the car and myself. And what white lighting means, you just visualize a white light and say it's coming from source. Whatever you think of source is, whether it's a mother, father, God, whether source is energy, whether source is the breeze, we don't care. Whatever source is, just visualize source is surrounding you in light. Some people use a golden light, some people use a blue light. It's not the color that matters, it's the intentionality of surrounding yourself in a light of love. And you will find that almost all of the protections I talk about is you feeling it, you intending it to be protective. And so whatever you feel good with, yes?
And for me, that was one of my first moments of surrendering to something I couldn't see, was intending and believing it was so, even though I couldn't see it.
Right.
Or feel it or know it. So that was like my first experience of metaphysics, was through intention.
Right, right.
Can I
And
ask a
so-
question?
Yes.
Why do you have to do it every morning?
Oh, because at night is when I do all my traveling.
Gee, I
and-
learned a long time ago. When I learned it, I didn't know it wore off.
Oh.
Mine's permanent.
Yes, but I don't think of it as being permanent.
Oh,
So,
okay.
Because I don't think of it as being permanent, I have to reapply.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
Everything I own is covered with white light.
Yeah. And
It's
so-
permanent.
And for me, I do a lot of traveling at night.
Yeah.
And so when I come back, Ma tends to take me different places, and so that's fun. And so when I come back in the morning, when I get up, I'm a little bit off, you know. It's like, I just say white light, just white light myself.
Okay.
And that's fine, but very good point. Yeah. Okay, what kind of questions? I expect everybody to have a question about, you know, what is all of this? Yes, Carol.
People have said they're now a reverend of this church.
Mhm.
How do you become a reverend of this church? Do you take all these classes, or is it something else?
You
or
find a
what?
sponsor, and you take different sponsors teach in different ways.
Yeah.
I feel that since we're for me, since we're a spiritualist church, you should learn some spiritual tools.
Yep.
And it takes 2 years. It takes 1 year, which is called the Sentient, and the second year that is called Ordination. And for me, the second year when I teach has to do with ministerial. What is it to be a minister? How do you be a minister? What do you do? And I also teach healing. I also have healing classes. So some people are going to teach you a completely different way. For me, it takes a minimum of 2 years, unless you're coming in from being a minister of another church. You might come in at a different set of abilities or things that you've learned or whatever that adapt themselves well to this. But that's how I do the ministry. Like Mel, he had 2 years and he became a minister. Cheryl had 1 and she became a minister.
It took 17 years.
Yeah, well, Corky, how long? Corky, it took you 25 years to become an ordained minister?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Took me 2 years.
Yeah.
Started in '76, was ordained in '78.
Mhm. And you know, your sponsor should be, whoever sponsors you should be ready to say whether you are ready to go. Just because you say 2 years doesn't mean that works for everybody.
That's right.
You could have somebody sign up and then not show up, and even when they did show up, they didn't look like they were getting whatever it is for them, and so.
Or
yeah.
life can get in the way and you need to
Yeah.
kind of pace yourself until you're ready. You know,
Yeah, you're
there's
ready.
lots of reasons why it can take a while.
Yes, lots, exactly. So, but that's what happens in the ministry is through the Universal Church of the Master as our parent church. I'm a charter. Center for Grave Living is a charter of a museum. A lot of people don't realize that. They when they become a minister here, they think, well, they're a minister of CCL. Well, that's great because they're part of CCL, but their charter, their ministry is
The other umbrella is
licensed.
through-
They're under the umbrella of the UCM. Yeah.
So some of the dates are not quite right. So just know that it's the first and third Thursdays. And so it's the closest Thursday to what, and I'll update this and
Yeah, you
I've got everybody's email. I'll email you updated what you missed. That some of the dates are wrong.
Okay, you're gonna.
And,
First and third Thursday.
I thought the
first
title of my
and
talk
third.
could be the spirituality of the seasons.
Oh, that sounds
Perfect,
great.
Perfect. So do you want, you noticed we left it, it said Yule and Solomon.
I don't see me on there.
No, we didn't.
Oh, we didn't, I'm
So-
sorry.
So it
because
can
they
be
were
any
coupled.
time.
Okay.
You can fit me in, except in, well, it'll be including.
The spirituality of the seasons? Great, thank you. Corky, did you write that down?
Mm-mm.
I will.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sounds good. For those of you who had worked here during the holidays, we had we had an altar for Yule, we had a holiday tree, we had, because the holiday tree had things from all different faiths, we had the manger scene up there, we had Kwanzaa, and Hanukkah. We had a Hanukkah altar. We're also having a Seder, Passover Seder here for Hanukkah, and for Passover, Dottie, we're having a Passover Seder here, and I don't even think you saw it, but I have a CCL Haggadah, which means this is something that you follow during the Passover, and I decided that, hey, everybody in the world has one, CCL's going to have one. So,
It'll be our second time using it. Will be.
Yeah, second time using it. Well, I talked to a rabbi, and she said, this is fine. And then I was talking to a person who went to a Passover Seder that Phil Lesh of the Grateful Dead put on. And it's got the Grateful Dead symbol with the skull and the what is that thing, and there it is. It's the Haggadah, which is pretty exciting. So, yeah. So we're going to do that. And for those of you who haven't done anything that is part of the Jewish faith, you might want to join us. And it's good food, good music, and it's interesting to learn things. I believe that all faiths are wonderful, and they all have a different reason to be. And so just finding out what they are feels really good. So, any questions of any of these classes that you're interested in what they are and what they're going to be talking about?
I'm really interested in this past life. I feel connected to certain people with a different nationality, but I don't know why.
Right.
And I love that.
Yeah. And when we do past lives and spirit guides and hypnosis, we're going to have people on the floor. So we're asking you to either bring a sleeping bag or a blanket. We have yoga mats here, and we have pillows. And so I do a talk, and then we put you on the floor, and turn the lights down, and then I put you into a meditation, and we bring in past life. Yes?
I wanted to comment on what Sharon said. I knew somebody who figured out that he'd been Jewish in his most recent past life because he started really connecting with Jewish people in San Francisco. He watched this movie, Sophie's Choice. You know Sophie's Choice? Sure. And he, after they left the movie, he, had a breakdown, he, fainted. And then when he went to Germany and he heard Germans, speaking, he didn't know why, but he clammed up and panicked. And he shared this with me because, for various reasons, I haven't spoken to him in a while. But, and he was like, "Wow," And then that's how we realized that he had been. So even though he wasn't born to be Jewish in this life, he's still very connected with that religion and culture because it had been his most recent past life.
Especially if it's a traumatic life, that really is, keeps it kind of sticky and hanging on.
He was born right after the Holocaust.
Yeah, that's
and see, that's
hard to forget.
The thing is, when you choose your parents, and we'll talk about this, when you choose your parents to be born, I know most people go, I chose these people. No. But when you choose your parents to be born, it's usually because these people either are a religion that you really appreciate, they could be living in a place you like, they could be so many of their traits or something that you want to inherit. There's so many different reasons why you choose your parents. And quite often, if you've had a very difficult past life, last time in a different country, in another country, you're not going to want to go back to that country. But what happens sometimes is you choose parents because you really feel that their religion and where they're living are important, and then they migrate to someplace else and get a different religion, and then you're going, why did they do that to me? Kind of wondering what was going on there. So. Okay, what else? We're open here. Yes?
So you choose your parents to learn something?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
From them, yeah. And quite often, you learn things about what you were worried about. Why did I choose a mother who beat you with a strap or whatever? And when you start looking into why you chose her, there was something that you needed. You might have been, we have beings who come down here from spirit who think that everything is absolutely perfect. And they have to run into somebody like a mother who was really mean, and they realize that's not unconditional love when I hate somebody. When you are born to somebody like that, it's for you to learn that you can love people no matter. I mean, there's a big lesson there that a lot of people have to learn, that to be balanced as a spirit, we have to achieve that state of harmony within everything.
Can
Yes.
it go the other way, that parents choose their children without realizing it?
No.
No?
No, it's a soul group,
No,
you
we
all
just
decide
got-
together. You picked it all. Brothers, sisters, cousins, all those people who got in your way and messed up your life, you chose them to do that.
Yeah, because you learn from it. You just think of, if you go by a stove and somebody's told you it's hot, are you going to believe them? Not until you do. Okay? Why did you have to touch it? You know, that was to get the value of learning that stoves are hot. Well, that's the same with coming into a life that you go, this is miserable. Why did I ever choose this? To learn lots of lessons, and a lot of them are positive lessons. When you can say, I'm so much better than my parents were.
Yes. I'd like to make a comment about coming in with a plan. When you're on the other side, you're making your plan in your life. You're figuring out what your lessons are going to be. And you make deals with soul, spirits, family groups on the other side. So sometimes the person who is hurting you the most in this life is someone who loves you the most on the other side, because they've chosen to treat you badly so you can learn.
Sometimes you come in because you've had a bad experience with them in a previous life, so that you can work it out here. Other times you come in to teach them a lesson.
Right.
Yeah, that's both ways.
Yeah. 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 And sometimes you feel, this isn't fair. Why is this fair? Why did I choose these people?
As much as I disliked my father for a long time, I realized I chose him for his strength of character and determination and his abilities. I needed him.
My sense is too that it's like you choose the big picture, but you don't always look at the details.
Right.
So how the details show up once we're here aren't necessarily, like, we didn't choose it to suffer. We didn't choose it to be horribly treated. We chose it to get the lessons, and how those lessons came were through the details that, you know, it's kind of like when you order something on a menu and it's like, oh, that sounds really good. And then it's like you forget that it's got the one herb that makes you nauseous, you know, because you didn't know. It wasn't listed. So for me, that's more what it is, to make sense of why I've gotten into some of the situations I've gotten into. It's like, oh, okay. You know, my kids, I think, chose us because we weren't going to be raising them in a fundamental religion or smack them every time they said no. We weren't going to do corporal punishment. But that didn't mean that some of the other things that ended up playing out, they didn't expect. But they were saved from being put in that kind of circumstance. Because they question it all the time. Why are you my mother?
Oh, no, my kids would say, well, Mom, why did you do that? And I said, wait a minute, you chose me.
I do too, I say that.
And they go,
Oh, what a great come down.
Don't tell my mom that.
But it's amazing as you get older. Many of you are a lot younger. But as you get older, you start realizing some of the truths that your parents taught you that at the time seemed ridiculous. And but I had the world's greatest mother. So
She did.
You know, she was. I mean, we called her Wow. Mom was. She was just an incredible woman, and did the most amazing things that. You wouldn't believe that somebody had that much ability to be able to handle kids and with everything they did. And I still think, talking about Mom, one of them, the ones that just was amazing to me, my brother was 19, and he was painting the house with my mother, and they were painting, and he said, Mom, I've got something that I want to talk to you about. And she says, okay. And they're both painting the house.
And what year was this?
This was 1975.
Right.
So here they're painting their house, and you know they're going on. And he said, Mom, I'm gay. And then she's just still painting the house. And he said, Mom, did you hear me? And she said, yes. And I want to tell you two important things. Number one, never feel cheap about anything you do in your life, as long as you love yourself. And number two, you're dripping paint on my goddamn foot. I mean,
Yep.
that was Mom. And she was always that way. I mean, she always was there for her kids. And to one point when they were grandkids, my kids said something bad about me. She said, don't you dare talk about my daughter. Well, okay. But having a parent who is really good and metaphysical and philosophical and great, and then having a father who is, we won't even say what names we used to call him, you know, but I found a balance in me from both of those people. But it took me 50, 60 years to do so, to find that balance and what I learned. But each one of you, when you think of choosing your parents, look at some of the things that you do like they did, some of the things that you think the same way they did,
Sure.
and some of the things that you think diametrically opposed. Yep. And you couldn't be diametrically opposed if they hadn't been your parents. So it's one of those metaphysical things, and thank you, April and Gail, for talking about it, because it's really interesting when you do. Okay, anything else you would like to have? Okay, so we talked about meditation. Sean is going to be talking about meditation, and he is an excellent person. He's been working in the field of meditation for years and years and years, and that's going to be great. A spiritual awakening. I'm going to be talking about channeling and how to channel and how to get in touch with energy. And spirit guides aren't the only things you get in touch with when you channel. Okay.
Yeah, be careful.
Yeah. And I don't know whether I'm going to throw a little bit of telekinesis in that channeling or not. Quite often with channeling, I teach you how to move clouds. Okay. Did it surprise you it wasn't raining when we got here? Yeah.
It was nice, thank you.
It had been raining and raining and raining. And
Can you do it for when we exit too?
Yeah, okay. And I just very gently talked to the clouds, and when we got here, it stopped raining. And I can move clouds. And people say, how do you do that? You channel your energy and you move clouds. Now, changing stoplights is really fun, but it messes up everybody else.
You know, it's really interesting because I've watched Doti do this for years, and before I met Doti, I worked with some people who were very esoteric, and when you did ritual with them, it was always you had to walk in a straight line, you had to make square corners, you had to, you know, it was very rigid on how you would follow the ceremony. But I've seen Doti change weather by, she goes, you know, just goes over by the window and she kind of looks out and goes, it's done. I mean, it's just done. And it's so nice to have somebody who uses table salt instead of having to go climb the Himalayas to get
Yeah. That's another thing for protection. If you have anything negative going on in your house, or if you don't like the way your car feels, or if you're in an office that it really bothers you, just take a handful of salt and bless it and toss it. And you just, that's a crystal. People forget. They buy really expensive crystals to put in different places. Well, salt crystals are just an earth crystal. And so just do that. And for those of you who are like I am, and I don't really clean behind my couch, I just take
grab it and throw it,
and toss it behind the couch and bless that side, you know.
And just listen to the sound and go, oh, that's where the.
But yeah, use it but first you bless it. And blessing is not about saying a particular prayer as much as it's coming from the heart when you bless something. and you can say, Spirit, Creator, Divine, please bless this salt and take it where it needs to go to remove all the density and negativity in the house. And you just toss it. And that most houses have salt, you know, it's pretty good. Yes?
I have a little theory about what Corky was sharing about the rigidity of the old ways. And my theory is that there was a time on the planet that the density was so, it was so dense. It was necessary to do things in a very rigid and specific way. Like even if you created a circle of people, you couldn't just, one person couldn't step away because it would break the flow of the energy. But we're at a place now on the planet that the frequencies and the density is not as dense. And so the capacity for us who are aware don't have to be so rigid, because we can, it's more, it's just a lighter frequency. So if you create a circle of people and one person steps away, the other two just, intentionally the energetics just hooks back up.
Right.
There just seems like when you witness that kind of stuff, it isn't wrong, it's just they're actually stuck in old thinking and haven't, this is my theory, haven't recognized the movement on the planet. She has, her frequencies have risen. We're not in the density we were 100 years ago, even 50 years ago. So that's just a theory I've had since I do ritual, and you know, there are things that are very helpful in ritual, but there are a lot of things that don't have to be the way they were.
Well, and some of this was in like Job's Daughters and Easter Star and the old Masonic.
And it's in like the Wicca and pagan tradition.
Yeah, and I did some stuff that was the Golden Dawn, and they're very rigid. So, you know, I mean, it's fine.
Right.
It's just
right.
not for me.
And it's just, that's my awareness around it.
But good, yeah, I think that's right. Bye, Celia. Yeah, that sounds very good.
My Uncle Dan used to have to stomp on the ground 3 times before he could feel water. And I asked him why. And he said, that's how I was trained, and that's the trigger for my subconscious to start sensing this water. So those rituals were necessary for their trained subconscious, is my understanding.
Yeah, yeah.
And some people still might need it, but it doesn't
Yeah.
mean everybody needs it.
That's right.
That's
the way I
way
teach dowsing. I've had people come up and say, but you have to do it this way because my teacher said, and I said, that's your teacher's belief system. I don't believe that. And my dowsing works.
It's like tapping your forehead to remember. You know, that's just, if you learn to do it that way. For people who believe it. You gotta.
I write things on my hand.
Well, you got a palm pilot.
A palm pilot. I do. I have the first palm pilot. I'm using a pen a lot better.
Okay, so we have meta and we have physics. And so that's what we're trying to bring into this, is that those things, just because we can't necessarily see it or hear it or whatever, but it's still that meta part of physics, because these are things that are at work, just like what the scientists find, and they're going to be coming up to a realization later on, maybe not in the next few years, that things that are spiritual have so much power that starting to learn how to use those, some of the ways that we do a lot of medicine, some of the ways that we do a lot of the things that have to do with healing are going to be changing because of this spiritual awakening. The same with motivation as far as communication, things like that. A lot of the things that are happening even in the computer industry, there's a lot of spirituality going on. People are always saying, oh, Silicon Valley is so crazy. Yeah, let's start with the word silicon, which is a crystal. Okay? We're in the midst of a big crystal bowl here. You know, all of the chips, all of the silicon that's in this valley. And so anybody starts a negative anything, and it's going to be magnified and magnified and magnified. Well, who is there to stop that? We are. So when you think about that, you know, when people are complaining about the traffic, Well, all these cars are going along, but it's the people who's driving them. This density of all of this negative energy in these crystals. Crystals don't just have positive energy. You can absolutely take a crystal and do some blessing, do some work on it, and change it into a positive energy. But crystals basically are neutral until you start giving positive energy. But they can also hold negative energy. Yeah, and it's one of those things. I have a friend who was so excited because she had 2,500 crystals around her house. And I said, "Do you clean them?" And she said, "No, why?" I said, "Because as a crystal, it can bring in negative energy and just keep building it." I said, "Either clean them," and there again, you can clean them in so many different ways, or put them in a box and put them under your bed, because they're going to start making negative energy. And she looked at me and said, "Oh, that's crazy." So she took all of their crystals, she put them in a big footlocker, and she put them in her garage. And her garage was struck by lightning 2 days later. Burned to the ground. And she blamed me for telling me. I said, "Well, they put them in your house." And she said, "Well, that's beside the point."
That's a good thing she didn't put them in the house.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, because they could just feel their negativity. And if you're not going to clean them, so if you have crystals, just remember to clean them, just like a mirror, just clean it. Or your glasses, so you can see through them better. The crystals need to be cleaned. But, so, what we've talked about is accepting yourself, believing in a deity, we don't care who it is, what it is, knowing that you're absolutely a child of God and you're the gift to yourself, and then find out what your other gifts are. You have choices. You can just like learning how to play the piano, or learning how to paint. Some people will get excellent at painting, and some people will get excellent at playing the piano, and some people it's just not for them.
Right.
So find the things that you vibrate to. You know, you could take your hand and you could go over this list of things that we're offering and see what kind of vibration you get. You don't have to come to every one of these classes, but tell me if you're not going to come to a class and you want to go into the ministry, then all you have to do is write a short paragraph of why I didn't come to this class, but I know this about the subject. I want to know that you know, because there's things out there that you're finding them. How many of you ever feel depressed?
Yeah.
Never.
Well, everybody does.
Okay.
Really?
And what do you do about it?
Take a nap.
Chocolate.
Yeah, here.
Chocolate.
Can they watch it?
What?
If she's going to be recording the classes, they could just watch the class if they couldn't come to get credit.
They could do that too.
See, I'm learning how to monetize things. So you'll still have to pay the $15 though.
Sure.
Of course.
But that's how you
Yeah.
get credit.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, so. Yeah. But look at all the things that you've learned, and then start saying, okay, what else do I want to add to who I am? What else do I want to gain that I can work on? And a lot of this doesn't come easy, and some of it you will never get. It's not a big thing. You're going to get plenty of everything else. That's why we've got so many different classes, so many different topics.
Some of these things just won't resonate with you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Not supposed to.
And we all are unique expressions of the divine.
Right.
And so not everybody's going to see everything. Not everybody's going to have Ma in their head. We're going to find how our gifts are expressed, and they're unique to ourselves. So there's no need to compare. And if you come to a class and you don't see the aura, which I've done and haven't, but I sense things and I trust that. I don't have to see it to trust it.
Right.
Have you ever tasted an aura?
No.
No.
Oh, it's awesome.
Try that with a piece of peppermint. And get it this close and see if you can't taste it.
Oh, yeah.
You're just going to smell it a bit?
Right.
Yeah, but you're not actually tasting it, are you?
Right.
And everything has an auric energy, particularly if they're alive. I just happen to, I'm not even going to go there. It's going to sound sexy, and I don't mean to. but something like that has a little bit of an aroma, and just stick your tongue out. You all of a sudden can taste it. It's another one of those senses that is really good. So, think about, things like that. But start doing different things. And when we talked about past lives, if you're going to get in touch with a past life, don't judge it. I have a client of mine who says, well, I'm not doing anything now, but when I was you were a king. Oh, yes, I've been a king or a queen in all my past lives. And what did you learn from that?
Not much.
Thank you, Smitty. I like having you right here.
Dun-dum-bum.
Dun-dum-bum. He is good. Well, and he's sitting on my left. I'm getting all this energy. It's wonderful. But think of that. Past lives aren't for you to say, oh, I don't have to do anything this lifetime. I did it all before. They're to build on, and they're to find out things that you have done. Yes?
I'd like to make a comment to kind of expand on what you're saying or add to it, and what you're saying as well about not everybody has the same gift as somebody else. I also went to Doti's aura reading class, and I couldn't see auras the way that it was presented, but all of a sudden I was playing with seeing auras with my family. Because they like to play with me and this spiritual thing that I do. Yeah. And so one day they asked me what their aura looked like. And I knew that I couldn't look straight on and see the aura. So I looked at them and I looked away.
And you had
but I had my energy connecting to them with the intention of seeing their aura. And all of a sudden I knew that the aura was faded. Was dim, and then all of a sudden I got information about your aura is faded, and it's because you're tired. You meant to take a nap this afternoon and you didn't take one, and they're looking at me like, you're weird. You're very, very weird. But I just want to say it out loud here is that the way you see auras is not the way that I see auras. Is not the way you see auras. We have our own ways of detecting things. And I encourage just playing with it, just being open.
And finding some information. It's kind of like these are all kind of beginning classes, so you can take the energy and go take the information and go, oh, there is a thing called an auric field around people.
Right.
I never knew that. Well, I'll try looking at it in whatever way. Yeah, and some people can look at someone and close their eyes and see an aura. And some people it's in the light. Some people it's in the dark.
They just have to make it up. Okay. They just have to. They make up. They imagine seeing an aura, and there it is.
Yeah.
And it's astonishing how accurate you are.
Right.
Gee, what a concept.
Yeah.
Fake it till you make it, right?
Yeah, well, and that's the thing, you don't condemn yourself because you can't do it the way it was taught, but it gives you license to play with it and see how it works for you.
And that's true of everything in life. Just because somebody does it one way. Haven't you ever worked at a company when the supervisor said this is the way you were supposed to do it, and 5 minutes later you know a way that's easier and better or faster or whatever? Yeah. And that's true in life. People, they just are giving you kind of like the blueprint and then you fill it in.
Right.
And thank you for bringing that up. It's a wonderful thing to say. Okay.
So before we go, I'd like to give you the corrected dates. So Ma Speaks is on July 5th, and numerology is July 19th.
Hold on. Let's get to that paper.
Okay.
Oh, it's in front. It's the one that's in front. So
Okay.
July 19th is numerology.
So Ma Speaks is
Yes, July 5th
And July 19th.
is numerology. And then, Christine, are you the one that found this?
19th?
Chris? Thank you.
Well, the 15th is on a Sunday.
July
15th
July
is on a
15th?
Sunday.
Right, that's why it's 19.
Yeah, that's why it's 19.
19th, yeah.
Yeah, right. And
I
so,
didn't hear you say, okay.
and then November, How to Be Psychic, that's on the 15th,
First and the 15th.
November 15th. And then the very last, that's not the very last one. It is the very last one. It's on the 20th of December.
Seeing Beyond
Yes,
is the 20th.
yes. So thank you, Christine, for doing that, and we'll update it. And it'll probably be attached to the CCL Insights.
Now,
That'll be published tomorrow.
Since you left your name and your email, you'll be put on the CCL Insight list, and it'll be going out tomorrow. Now, for all of you who know them, Joyce and Patty are getting married, and that's going to be on the 4th of February here.
That's a Sunday,
CCL
the first Sunday.
And
everybody's invited.
We'll be telling you more about that.
I was wondering about that.
Yeah.
Feb 4?
Yep.
Cool way to celebrate my birthday.